Hey, this is Matt Roberts with Shamrock Aquaponic Farm. Today I was going to show you the simplest, fastest, cheapest, most accurate saw guide you'll ever own. I started with a scrap of 1/2-inch plywood that had a good factory edge on one side. I ripped the factory edge off with my table saw with a strip about 2½ inches wide. That strip I glued and tacked down to the rest of the scrap of plywood. In order to make sure that went down straight, I tucked it under a full sheet of plywood to use that factory edge before I nailed that strip off. I put nails every 6 inches on the strip. The last part of this build was to square up my saw blade to make sure it's as good and straight as I can make it, and then cut down the saw guide with your skill saw. You're actually going to cut that guide to fit the actual saw that you have. I cut once on the large side of my plate and once on the small side. Depending on which way I need to cut later on, both sides are going to be true to that saw. The beauty of this guide is that besides being very inexpensive, very easy to set up, it is the most accurate straight edge guide I've used. The nice thing is that there's no math to mess with. When you want to cut a 1-inch or a 1-foot line, you mark the plywood or whatever sheet goods you're cutting and clamp the saw to those marks. That saw guide is going to cut it exactly where you need it without having to add or subtract the width of your saw plate. For the occasional time when it's more convenient to cut using the small side of the plate, I find that putting a little skid under the saw keeps it level, doesn't rock around. So this has been Matt Roberts with Shamrock Aquaponic Farm, showing you my favorite new saw guide. Hope you enjoy it, and maybe you can build yourself one.